Hi, my name is Mark Musk. I caught my fiancé cheating, fell into a dangerous affair with a billionaire, and helped destroy a powerful family empire. But you won't believe what happened in the end. Stay with me and let me show you.
Mark Musk never believed in fate until the moment he pushed open the gym's glass door. He wasn't supposed to be there. He had finished work early, decided to surprise Laura with flowers, and rehearsed a silly joke in his head. Instead, what he saw rewired his entire life. Laura, his fiancée of 4 years, was pressed against the mirrored wall, breathless, her hands gripping the shoulders of her personal trainer. The man's wedding ring flashed under the fluorescent lights like a cruel joke. For 3 seconds, Mark couldn't move. His reflection stared back at him, hollow-eyed, shrinking. Laura didn't notice him. She didn't need to. The betrayal had already landed, clean and final. Mark walked away quietly, but something inside him stayed behind, something that would never return. Laura called him 37 times that night. Mark let the phone vibrate on the table while he poured himself drink after drink he couldn't taste. The messages escalated from panic to excuses to anger. "It's not what you think" became "you never paid attention anyway." Mark lay awake until dawn, replaying the image of her face twisted in pleasure that wasn't meant for him. By morning, his grief hardened into something colder. At work, numbers made sense, patterns behaved, people didn't. He declined Laura's apology brunch, ignored her tears, and accepted an invitation to an exclusive networking event downtown. It wasn't revenge yet, it was an escape. But sometimes escape is just the first step towards something far more dangerous. The ballroom hummed with power. Tailored suits, whispered deals, champagne flowing like confession. Mark stood near the bar, invisible by choice, until a woman approached him with deliberate confidence. Elena Lively, billionaire, CEO, a name that made markets flinch. She studied him with unsettling precision, not flirtatious but analytical, like a chess player spotting a vulnerable piece. "You look like a man who just lost something valuable," she said calmly. Mark laughed bitterly. "Funny," he replied. "I was just thinking the same." Elena smiled, not warmly, but knowingly. She didn't ask questions, she offered understanding. And when she touched his arm, Mark felt it, the intoxicating relief of being seen without explanation. He didn't realize yet that Elena wasn't comforting him, she was choosing him. Their affair began quietly, dangerously fast. Elena didn't pretend it was love. She offered distraction, validation, and control. In her penthouse overlooking the city, Mark felt powerful again, desired, admired, important. She listened as he talked about Laura, about betrayal, about humiliation. Elena never interrupted. She let silence do the work. Then she made her first offer, framed as advice. "Your ex-fiancé's company's fragile," she said casually, swirling wine. "Over-leveraged. One bad signal and investors panic." Mark frowned. "Why tell me this?" Elena met his eyes, because pain doesn't have to be wasted. He told himself it was just talk. He told himself he wouldn't cross that line. But lines blur easily when someone else draws them for you. It started with a spreadsheet, one altered forecast buried inside thousands of data points. Mark told himself it was harmless, just a hypothetical scenario shared anonymously with analysts. The market reacted instantly. Laura's company's stock dipped. Elena watched the numbers fall on her tablet and smiled. "See," she murmured, "truth is flexible." Mark felt sick and exhilarated. For the first time since the gym, Laura wasn't the one holding power. That night, Elena rewarded him with affection that felt earned, not stolen. Mark slept deeply, unaware that he had taken the first step into a web already spun long before he arrived. Laura didn't collapse the way Mark expected. She called emergency meetings, reassured investors, and publicly blamed external manipulation. Privately, she unraveled. Mark heard about it through mutual contacts, the panic, the late nights, the desperation. Elena encouraged him to watch from a distance. Closure, she called it. But when Mark ran into Laura unexpectedly, her eyes were rimmed red, her confidence fractured. "You did this," she whispered. Mark denied it without blinking. The lie slid out smoothly, and that terrified him. Laura grabbed his arm. "I made a mistake," she said, "but someone's trying to destroy me." Mark pulled away. For the first time, he wasn't sure who deserved what was coming. Elena's involvement deepened. She introduced Mark to offshore accounts, shell companies, and data laundering. Each step was justified as necessary, inevitable. "This is how power really works," she told him. Meanwhile, Laura's company hemorrhaged value. Rumors of internal fraud spread. Regulators began circling. One night after sex, Elena revealed something casually, like an afterthought. "Laura and I share blood," she said. Mark froze. "She's my niece." The revelation landed like a delayed explosion. Elena explained the family rift, the inheritance dispute, the scandal that had cut her off decades earlier. "I'm just correcting history," she said softly. Mark realized too late, this was never about him. He was collateral. Laura finally told her side of the story. She showed Mark proof: bank statements, debt notices, threatening messages, gambling debts, crushing ones. The trainer? A setup. Elena's private investigators had orchestrated the encounter, pressured the man, and arranged the timing. Laura's affair wasn't passion, it was panic. Mark felt his stomach drop. The betrayal he built his revenge on was engineered. When he confronted Elena, she didn't deny it. "Everyone needs a push," she said, "you included." At that moment, Mark understood the truth. Elena didn't love him. She didn't even hate Laura. She loved winning, and Mark had helped her more than she ever could have alone. The company fell fast after that. Audits uncovered falsified reports, Mark's reports. Laura was arrested, publicly disgraced, abandoned by allies. Elena watched from a distance, already planning the inheritance claim. Mark proposed to Elena days later, not out of love, but survival. He needed proximity, access, time. Elena accepted with a satisfied smile, believing she had fully broken him. But Mark had learned her lesson too well. Betrayal, he realized, was just strategy wearing emotion's mask, and strategies could be reversed. The wedding was obscene in its luxury. Cameras flashed, glasses clinked. Elena glowed in white silk, victorious. Mark smiled for photos, but his attention drifted to whispered conversations, to his best friend lingering too close to Elena. The signs were subtle but unmistakable. Backup plan. That night, alone, Mark opened his laptop. He began drafting documents, false trusts, altered wills, evidence chains. He wasn't acting out of rage anymore. He was calculating. Because if Elena had taught him anything, it was this: the last betrayal always belongs to the one who learns fastest. Marriage did not soften Elena. It sharpened her. In public, she was affectionate, possessive, triumphant. In private, she became distant, efficient, already bored. Mark played his role flawlessly. Attentive husband, grateful beneficiary, silent partner. But behind the performance, he watched everything. Elena's calls taken on balconies, her encrypted emails, her late-night meetings that never made calendars. Most of all, he watched his best friend, Daniel, once loyal, now lingering too long, laughing too freely. Mark didn't confront them. He cataloged. Elena believed she had broken him into submission. She didn't realize she had trained him. Every lie she told became a lesson, every betrayal a blueprint. Elena underestimated how quickly Mark learned. With access to her legal teams and private bankers, he absorbed the mechanics of elite deception, how fortunes were hidden, how paper realities replaced truth. He noticed inconsistencies in her inheritance claims, dates that didn't align, signatures too clean. Elena wasn't reclaiming her legacy, she was forging it. Meanwhile, Laura awaited trial, vilified, isolated, her name synonymous with fraud. Mark visited her once, quietly. "I can't fix everything," he told her, "but I can make sure the truth survives." Laura laughed bitterly. "Truth doesn't win," she said. "It just waits." Mark left, knowing what he had to do. Elena had built an empire on manipulation. He would collapse it with precision. Mark followed Daniel one night. No confrontation, just confirmation. The two met Elena in a discreet hotel across town, her second life unfolding effortlessly. Mark felt no rage, only clarity. He recorded nothing, took no photos. Evidence was useless without timing. Instead, he refined his documents, aligning forged trusts with real ones, embedding Elena's handwriting into digital trails she herself had taught him to create. This wasn't revenge fueled by emotion, it was revenge executed like an audit. Meanwhile, Elena began discussing divorce casually, preemptively, strategically. She believed Mark would walk away quietly. She had mistaken his silence for weakness. Silence, Mark now knew, was just another form of preparation. The inheritance hearing was scheduled. Elena was confident, arrogant even. She spoke of destiny, injustice, redemption. Mark played the devoted husband, sitting front row, nodding supportively. When authorities reviewed the documents, the tone shifted. Questions emerged, then contradictions, then damning proof, timestamps, financial flows, correspondence. Elena's expression changed, just slightly. She looked at Mark. For the first time, she truly saw him. "You," she whispered. Mark didn't respond. He didn't need to. The web tightened. Elena tried to pivot, to charm, to threaten. It didn't matter. Systems don't feel fear. They only process data. And the data was unforgiving. Elena's empire unraveled with shocking speed. Accounts frozen, boards abandoned her, media turned merciless. The woman who once controlled narratives was now trapped inside one she couldn't escape. Daniel disappeared. Loyalty evaporated. Mark filed for divorce immediately, presenting evidence that secured him a substantial settlement, clean, legal, devastating. Elena screamed betrayal. Mark listened calmly. "You taught me," he said. "I just paid attention." Laura's charges were revisited. The truth surfaced. Manipulation, coercion, engineered downfall. She was cleared, but not restored. Some damage doesn't rewind.
Mark walked away richer than he had ever imagined. New accounts, new city, new identity. No celebrations followed him. No satisfaction lingered. At night, he replayed moments, not of loss, but of choice. Each time he could have stopped. Each time he didn't. Laura reached out once. "We're both survivors," she said. Mark didn't reply. Survival wasn't the word he'd choose. He had won the game, yes, but games like this don't end. They change players. From prison, Elena sent Mark a letter. No apology, no remorse, just admiration. "You were my greatest investment," she wrote, "and my most expensive mistake." Mark burned the letter without reading it twice. Some truths didn't deserve memory. Still, her voice echoed in his mind, cold, approving, familiar. He wondered if this was how she felt at the beginning. If this was how power always corrupted intention. He stopped wondering after that. Wondering was dangerous. Months later, Mark stood in front of a mirror in his new penthouse. The city stretched beneath him, glittering and indifferent. He barely recognized the man staring back. Successful, untouchable, alone. He thought of the gym mirror, the first betrayal, the man he had been. He had avenged himself, outplayed predators, rewritten his fate, and yet something essential was missing. Trust, perhaps, or innocence, or the ability to love without strategy. Mark received an invitation to a networking event, exclusive, powerful, familiar. He almost declined. Almost. Inside the ballroom, he spotted a young man by the bar, lost, wounded, staring into a drink he didn't want. A woman approached him, elegant, observant, dangerous. Mark watched them from across the room, history repeating itself, flawlessly. He turned away. Some cycles could only be broken by refusing to participate. Mark Musk ended where he began, with everything and nothing that mattered. He had escaped poverty, humiliation, manipulation. He had mastered betrayal and used it better than anyone who wronged him. But mastery came at a cost. He understood now. Revenge doesn't restore you, it replaces you. As he closed the blinds and shut out the city, one truth settled heavily in his chest. The inheritance he claimed wasn't money or power. It was the burden of becoming exactly what he once despised.
We have come to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories. Have a good one.